took my level 2, USA weightlifting level 2, over this past weekend. Did it online. That was a recommendation from Spencer, just because online, since it's with Anna and JP, USAW staff, you are guaranteed to get the same high-level product every time, versus one coach may be better at it than another if you do it locally or go somewhere else for it. So, did that online over the weekend. Was a 3-day course, got broken down just to 2 days, so spent 12, 15-ish hours on that over this past weekend. And I came away with a couple pretty big surprises. So, in my opinion, I think the USAW Level 1 should not be marketed as the Level 1, but instead should be marketed as Olympic weightlifting for sports performance. I took the Level 1 back in 2020, I think. And it is mostly very, very, very introduction, catered more towards the sports performance strength and conditioning coach who is trying to use this for group sports, not actually for the sport of weightlifting. The Level 2 is more so targeted at the actual Olympic weightlifting coach of, hey, here is how to actually be an Olympic weightlifting coach, which, as someone now who has done this for 4 or 5 years, did really not get a lot out of it. As a coach who was brand new and within like my first year, that course would have been like so phenomenal with a lot of really big takeaways. But again, not my first time doing this. So I really think it would be beneficial to market the Level 1 as the, like, your max Level 1. There is only that Level 1 for sports performance. There is not any higher caliber. And then we have the Level 1 for Olympic weightlifting, where then we can still go that progression of 3, 4, 5, but go like 2, 3, 4, and 4 is now your top tier. So first thought there is that Level 2 is much better targeted for someone who is very, very green to coaching Olympic weightlifting. Rather than the Level 1 is very, very surface level. The Level 2, expand on that more on day 2. However, day 1 was nearly entirely Level 1 review, which I was not super happy with. Really got nothing at all out of day 1. It was all going over technique, going over USAW's teach and progression, going over error correction, and then talking about communication. All of which is straight from the Level 1, so day 1 was entirely Level 1 review, which at that point you can just ask coaches to review the Level 1 and you need to have that base level knowledge, which is why it's 2 above 1. So day 1 is really a lot of review, and if you're very green to this, it could be some very good review, but again, as an experienced coach, you're not getting a lot. Day 2, you go over, what do we do? Actual competition meet coaching, which again, like if you've never coached at a national meet before, that is going to be like a life-changing experience for you. If you have taught or coached at, I think, 8, 9 national meets I've done at this point, really, like, there was not a single thing new I got out of that. Like JP mentioned varying your rest times in your warm-up, which I do. I just don't write it down that way. So what I'll probably do is now start writing it down that way to actually have it built in rather than going on the fly. So got that from it. Besides that, then we did, this is where the rant's about to start. After that, we talked about programming. And then we were all broken up into break rooms. Everyone was given a client or an athlete kind of persona that we had to program around. And I was so surprised at the amount of coaches in the Level 2 who have never coached before or who weren't even actually coaches. Because this course costs $500. Excuse me. Course costs, I think, $525. So you've already paid the same amount for the Level 1. You're now paying another $500 for the Level 2. If you're paying $1,000 for 2 certifications and you are not a coach, why are you spending that money? Like, what's it going to do for you? Quite a few who were not coaches, quite a few were assistant coaches who have never programmed before, like a day in their life, which was also just how do you coach and you don't program? Like even like on the side a little, or like for smaller groups, like even a little bit. Very large amount of CrossFit coaches who were just taking their level 2. And then I think there were less than 5 of us, I know 2 others for sure, who were actually full-time Olympic weightlifting coaches. So, like, the example or the persona that me and one other group had, my group, it was 140 kilo male going to his first nationals, came from powerlifting, huge strength reserve, and then we were building out week 1 of a 4-week comp prep. So pretty straightforward. I have done that exact scenario hundreds of times. The other group, now not to shit talk here, but it was a group who none of them had ever coached Olympic weightlifting before, and half of them had not coached in general or programmed in general before. Putting things in there like the Bosu ball, having working sets of like scap pull-ups, and just building up their scapular rhythm. Like, all right, like I can kind of see where you're coming from, but also like, dude, we're 4 weeks out. Like, we got to snatch, we got to clean a jerk, and we got to do that often, we got to do that heavy. They were going into like, oh, but he has minor knee and wrist issues. We really got to focus on safety and health first, which sure, but you can't just ignore the performance entirely and only focus on health, because like that's it's not what you're going to do when you're going to a national meet or when you're competing in general. So level 2, I'm done with it. I passed. Think it would be much better for a very, very green coach who still has some experience though. Like, I still think you gotta go into that with some level of being a coach and have programmed before, just to have that base knowledge instead of just having all this lecture read to you and you're just trying to get all that theoretical and none of the actual application. Much better off advertised to the green weightlifting coach who wants to do this for a living. Again, as someone with a lot of experience, didn't get much out of it besides the fact that now in June, once I hit my development with my athletes, I will be able to go level 3. Really, main reason I did this was I need level 2 to go level 3, and I'm going level 3 in June, so kind of had to do it. But on that tangent comes just simply having a certification, no matter which one it is, does not make you a coach. Just simply having USA level 1 or USAW level 1 or USAW level 2 in your bio or any sort of other certification does not make you a coach. Simply paying money to say that you have education doesn't make you a coach. Like, there is a big difference too between like personal trainer and coach. Personal trainer, you got certifications, you work one-on-one, you build mostly fat loss clients, some like build muscle clients, but you're walking them through hand in hand to reach a goal. Like, there is not like some big number they're trying to hit. You're not really periodizing a whole lot. It's basically just, hey, we're going to get you to lose some fat, we're going to get you to build on some muscle, and we're just going to roll out from there, and we're just going to keep going for a while. Versus coaching is much more of a collaborative approach. You are actually working with that athlete, you're making changes day to day, and you are building up to a larger goal. You are more so like a sport coach, helping guide them along the process, building up those sport skills, rather than just being a personal trainer holding a lot of hands, which is a lot of what personal training is, just holding hands. And if you have never actually worked on that communication aspect with an athlete, if you have never programmed for an athlete, if you have never built someone up to a certain goal and then they made the goal or they fell completely short and you have to reevaluate every single decision you made that entire time, if you haven't done all that, you're not a coach. Just simply having a cert that says USA level whatever coach does not make you a coach. A coach does not come from the certifications. A coach comes from your actions. What have you done? How many athletes have you built? How do you work with people? How do you communicate with people? How well can you get your message across? If you're giving people 5-sentence cues on the exact biomechanics of what they need to fix, you're not a fucking coach. If you can actually put those into lessons, and here's an actual cue that is short to the point and mnemonic, to get across what you want without them breaking apart because you told them a fucking dissertation of information, you're not a coach. So at the end of the day, just because you go through courses means nothing. Like, again, there were plenty of hobbyists and people who have never coached before a day in their life in that level 2. Whether they refer to themselves as coaches or not, I have no idea. They could have taken that course for any number of reasons. But just simply going through a coaching course does not make you a coach. You actually have to coach to consider yourself a coach. Crazy concept. So, if you want to be a coach, you don't need to go spend $1,000 on a couple certs to do that. You need to go out, you need to coach people. Crazy enough. There's really not more to it than that. That's all I got.